How you doing, YouTube? Matt Massa Beer Reviews. Back with a beer that's a long time coming for this guy right here. And that is Swiftwater Brewing. It is their Muncheez truck. Yeah. Muncheez truck is a chocolate coconut, and peanut butter Imperial Stout aged in bourbon barrel. Say, what's in? Yes, Swiftwater Brewing, Rochester, New York. What up to Rochester peeps out there? I know I have a lot of you guys out there watch the videos and stuff like that. Love that area. Haven't spent enough time out there. I had a bunch of planned trips this summer to actually come and visit and hang out. COVID kind of put the kibosh on that. And this comes courtesy of my boy George. You know my boy George. My boy George. Not that boy George. My boy George. Right before COVID went down, man. Like literally right before, like early March. Late April, early March. Late February, early March months. They don't matter anymore. He's like, hey man, because he goes to Rochester all the time. That's how I know a good portion of the people from up there. And he says, hey man, I got some beers for you. He had a Mortalis for me. He had like a Genesee Young Lion collab. Then he had this, and he's like, yeah, let's hook up. He's like, I got to drop these off to you. And then COVID went down, bang, working from home. I live in Jersey. He's in Scranton. I commute into work a couple days a week. So that kind of went by the wayside. So he's been sitting on them. We are now into May, in the middle of May now. And he just needed to get out. And he decided he wanted to take a drive down to Kane and Carton in New Jersey to pick up some beer. And we did a little social distance beer chug real quick. And he finally dropped this sucker on me. So there you go. Long-winded story for an intro. My first Swiftwater beer. Let's dive into it. It already looks delicious. Yeah, label-wise, I kind of like it in its ghetto-ness. I'm going to say that, because it's not like it's an awesome graphic design kind of thing going on here, but it's literally, it's a barrel, but it looks like wood paneling in a truck. So, yeah, I'm cool with it. Let's put it that way. As far as the beer goes, I mean, look at that. That is motor oil. Motor oil, not much of a head on it. Kind of expect that a lot of times when it comes to these kind of coconut-based beers. Coconut oil, just kibosh on head. So I'm not going to sit here and say poop on this beer without having any head retention, because it's kind of par for the course when you come to a lot of coconut-based beers. So yeah, looks the part of a stout. Let's get a nose. I mean, everything here is relatively subtle now. So everybody knows, it's 14.5%, which is not subtle. And the date on this can, I saw a date on this. It was okay. It looks like it was canned January 9th. It's weird because the 20 is there, but then the one's upside down. I don't know if you guys wanted to decipher the date on that for me. Yeah. Anyway, it looks like basically early January. There's really not a ton to the nose. It's not super vibrant. It's not super peanut butter. It's not super chocolate. What it is more than anything else is subtle notes of that just below a nice, not overly hot bourbon characteristic. And it's really a kind of a bourbon liquor. It's not so much barrel. There's not a lot of char or anything like that. It's just kind of a bourbon liquor. It smells quite nice. It smells super fucking dangerous, to be perfectly honest with you. This smells like a 6.5% stout. It does not smell like a 14.5% stout. So danger. Fucking danger. Just dive into this sucker. Cheers. Whoa. Based off nose, I was not expecting that. It's very, very sweet. It's a 14.5% beer. What the fuck was I thinking? It's supposed to be sweet. I'm not bitching about the sweetness, but it is sweet. It's sweet. That's a sweet beer. Excuse me. That had nothing to do with the beer. That was me. It's man, it's sweet. Peanut butter comes off, not too big. It's probably more chocolate than anything else. And since the sweetness is so big, the chocolate comes off. It comes off very much like a chocolate syrup. Kind of like if you had like a peanut butter ice cream and drizzled a little bit of bourbon on it, and then put a bunch of chocolate syrup on it, and then ate that. Now don't think of what you just did. The bottom of that glass, you know, on the bottom when you're done eating like ice cream and you put way too much like syrup on it, and then you start scooping the remnants of the melted peanut butter ice cream with the syrup, and the ratio is way too much syrup to peanut butter. That's the kind of vibe I'm getting off here with those little hints of bourbon. If you told me No, it's barrel aged. I was gonna be, if you told me it was just like not barrel aged, I would say, you're right now. Because the way the alcohol comes off is something beyond like an alcohol that you get typically from non-bourbon barrel aged beers. There's this like heat to it. It's not hot. I shouldn't use that word. Evaporative alcohol thing that's only really possible with like high octane ABV spirits. And yeah, it's nice. It has that bittering quality, that astringent bittering thing that I can get from darker beers from time to time. It's not huge, but the flavor is so big, I think it's masking some of it. But at the same time, that bittering astringency thing is very much a me thing. I'm very susceptible to it, so I'm not going to sit here and say knock it on it too much, because I get it in a lot of beers. Specifically darker ones. Higher ABV ones, not so much, so it's definitely there. It's fun. It's a fun beer. It lacks a little bit of cohesiveness. By that I mean, more the beers that I really covet when it comes to barrel aging programs are the ones where all the flavors taste like one. You have the peanut butter, you have the chocolate, you have the coconut, which is in here, by the way. I just didn't really speak to it. You have the bourbon, the barrel, all those things, but it all tastes like it's one combined flavor encompassing a singular kind of flavor pattern. This is, I'm getting the chocolate, I'm getting the coconut, I'm getting the peanut butter, and I'm getting the barrel, but they're all very individual notes in a mix. And that's where either a blending comes in or time comes in. Because more often than not, when I have beers that tend to be a bit more cohesive, they tend to be not a straight bourbon barrel aged variant. There tends to be a bit of blending involved of different barrels and trying to pinpoint the exact perfect ratio, I guess you would say. Or time. Time just helps, so this might have spent time in a wet barrel for not a super long amount of time, or it just needs a little bit of time in a can to kind of settle out, and you'd have that sweetness kind of come down a little bit. Those flavors meld together and stuff like that. But in the grand scheme of things, it's a fun beer. And honestly, it's a 14.5% chocolate, coconut, peanut butter, bourbon barrel aged stout. That's called fun beer. That's what that beer is supposed to fucking be, and that's what it pulls off. So, the personal preference, if you knock down the sweetness a little bit, I think a lot of the other flavors, because I just got some barrel char in there, so each sip I take, that sweetness kind of is tempered a little bit, so I start getting a little bit more out of the beer. Start getting that barrel char in there, starting to get a little bit more kind of like marshmallow coconut blending. That's your barrel and your coconut kind of coming at work there. So a little bit of time, or kind of knock that sweetness down in the next batch. That would be what I would do, and try to make it a little bit more cohesive. But all in all, a really fun beer. Like I said, each sip I take, all those ingredients come a little bit more to the head as you get acclimated to the sweetness. So that's a fun thing. So keep sipping on it. It's going to end up being quite delicious. So let's talk about it. Is it one of the better bourbon barrel aged adjunct stouts that I've had as late? No. I mean, it's probably worthy being in the conversation, but it's definitely not towards the top. It's not that the flavors are bad. It's just a little bit too sharp in individualism and not as cohesive. And that's kind of what separates the super upper echelon from, a lot of other people, for lack of a better word. Value and availability, no idea. Maybe George or somebody out there in the ROC can let me know what's what when it comes to this beer, and leave you with if you like what we like this beer. If you like bourbon barrel aged stouts, you like sweet beers, you like pastry stouts, you like ice cream. It's very much ice cream vibes. I'll go back to that kind of chocolate syrup, kind of peanut butter ice cream analogy. It's giving me a lot of those ice cream vibes. So if you like those attributes in beer, then you'll like this. So there you go. Another review in the books. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Down there if you want to talk about it. Massive Beers. If you want to check me out doing the social media stuff, Beer Massive. If you want to check me out doing the whole podcasting thing. And hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. Hopefully enjoying a little bit of a ice cream beer right now. Hope to see you next time. Cheers.